All right, now I promise this is my daughter Abigail. She's age 5, and I promised her that she would get to start the press conference. Do you have anything to say, babe? Can you say hello?
Hello.
Can you tell us what your favorite color is?
Pink.
Pink. Can you tell us what your favorite animal is?
Flamingo.
A flamingo. All right, also pink. We love you. We love you.
Smart girl.
There you go. Thank you all for being here. It is such a privilege to have all of you here today. We are here today to issue a call to action, to call on the United States Congress to stand up and to protect the innocent unborn, to protect the health and safety of women whose lives are endangered by the abortion drug known as mifepristone. And we're also here to call on Congress to stand up to the greedy foreign corporations who are making billions of dollars in profits by endangering women's health and shipping to them a drug that they know is dangerous, that they know will cause the most devastating health effects, and they do it anyway because profit for them comes before people. It's time for Congress to take action. We've known for years that mifepristone is risky, but it's really just in the last few years that we've learned that this drug is inherently dangerous, and it is inherently prone to abuse. Just last year, a major study of 875,000 mifepristone prescriptions drawn from insurance claims data was published showing that in fully 11% of cases, women who take the drug mifepristone for use in an abortion experience a serious adverse health event. Now, that's the technical term. What it means in practice is internal infections, sepsis, hemorrhaging, a trip to the emergency room, a life-threatening condition. In 11% of cases, that's more than 1 in 10 women. And we're talking about a lot of women. Since 2000, the number of women who have taken this drug for use in an abortion tops 7.5 million. Mifepristone now accounts for 70% of the abortions conducted in the United States of America. This is a drug that is incredibly widespread and is inherently dangerous. It is also inherently prone to abuse. Just in the last year or so, about a dozen men have been charged criminally in different jurisdictions around the country with using mifepristone to force on girlfriends or people they hardly know abortions they didn't want. We're talking about taking this capsule and using it to lace a woman's drink, to lace her food, to put it under her tongue while she's sleeping, to force an abortion on her that she objects to, that she would never consent to. And the truth is, because the drug comes in capsule form and because it is at this juncture nearly completely unregulated, it is inherently prone to abuse. This is a dangerous drug. This is a drug that is all too often used to hurt women, and you're going to hear from victims and survivors today tell their own stories. You might ask yourself, how did we get to this point? How did we get to the point where this drug is on the market and is almost completely unregulated? The truth is, when mifepristone was first introduced into the United States, it carried with it a whole suite of safety regulations and protocols. It had to be prescribed by an actual physician. It had to be dispensed in person by that physician. It required a doctor visit. It required a doctor follow-up so a potential ectopic pregnancy could be diagnosed. It required all sorts of warnings. But over the years, one liberal administration after another, President Obama and then President Biden, removed almost all of the safety protocols around mifepristone, such that today it is almost wholly unregulated. They did this for one simple reason, and it had nothing to do with protecting women's health, just the opposite. They did it because of abortion politics. They did it because they wanted to turn mifepristone into the driver of abortion on demand. And we have to admit today they largely succeeded. There are more abortions now in the United States than there were when Roe versus Wade was the law of the land. Let me say that again. There are more abortions now in the United States than there were when Roe was still the law of the land. And 70% of these abortions come with the use of the chemical abortion drug mifepristone. This was by design by liberal administrations seeking to overrule the voters, by the way. It doesn't matter right now what the voters in the states or anywhere else say. If a voter in the state of Louisiana or Missouri or anywhere else, if those voters determine they want to protect life, it doesn't matter. Mifepristone is mailed into the state no matter what. without a doctor's prescription, without safety protocols. In fact, most of the websites, or many of them, where you can go to order this drug are hosted overseas. Many of the drugs are mailed in from overseas. Many of them are manufactured overseas. It doesn't matter what the voters say, and that's exactly what liberal administrations wanted. They wanted abortion on demand. But here's the really key thing. They were cheered on every step of the way by the foreign corporations who make this drug and who have benefited from it to the tune of billions of dollars a year. The Danco Corporation, which was stood up at about the year 2000, the late 90s, with the sole purpose of manufacturing mifepristone and introducing it into the United States, they advocated at every turn to reduce the safety prescriptions, to reduce the safety protocols, to remove all of the guardrails. Why? So that they could make more money. Oh, and have they made it? They have made billions of dollars. They make so much money, this is the only drug they make. And guess what? They're not even based in the United States. They're incorporated in the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands. Why? So that they can avoid American liability, so that they can avoid the American court system, so that they can avoid transparency. I'd love to tell you all about their board of directors and their investors, but I can't, because it's all secret, because it's all offshore. And it's done that way deliberately. They don't want transparency. They don't want accountability. They just want to make billions of dollars off of a drug they know is dangerous. The largest study done on mifepristone that I mentioned a moment ago, 875,000 separate insurance claims related to mifepristone showed that in 11% of cases, there's these serious adverse health events. Do you know what the chemical drug maker tells women that rate is? They say it's less than 1%. If you go look at the label, according to the drug maker, according to Danco, they will tell you it's less than 0.5%. In reality, the health risk is 22 times higher. They know that. They know it. They don't care because they're making billions of dollars off of it. It is time for Congress to do something about this racket, and it is a racket. It is time for Congress to ban the use of mifepristone for abortion. And it is time for Congress to give the victims, the survivors, many of whom are here today, the right to recover against this company that has inflicted harm on them solely for the purpose of making profits. I'm introducing legislation today that will do just that, and I'm delighted to have with me here today great advocates for women's health and for life who will speak to this and the need for the legislation. You're also going to hear in just a moment from some powerful, incredible women. You're going to hear about the pressure tactics that were used by clinics and abortion doctors to effectively force on women the abortion drug. You're going to hear about major complications and adverse events which can be life-threatening. You're going to hear about how the mail-order drug regime fosters deception and foul play against women. You're going to hear about how some women attempt to reverse the impact of these terrible drugs after learning the truth and taking them. And we're also going to hear from a brave whistleblower who will describe how Planned Parenthood in particular lies to women about what these drugs can do. I want to emphasize the importance and timeliness of this moment. Only Congress can address this situation. Only Congress is placed to regulate the flow of interstate drugs. Only Congress can withdraw the FDA's approval rendered way back in the Clinton administration for this drug that is proved to be inherently dangerous and inherently prone to abuse. Only Congress can act. Congress should act, and we are here today to call on them to act. Let me now introduce the first of our incredible survivors, Elizabeth Gillette. Elizabeth lives in Salem, Oregon, with her family. She was harmed by a chemical abortion in her early 20s and now advocates against the abortion drug, trying to get the truth out there to every person in America. Would you join me in welcoming Elizabeth?
I am the generation that believed the lie that chemical abortion is safe, easy, and effective. But I didn't know that when I became pregnant in my early 20s. The coercion from Planned Parenthood started the moment I called them to make an appointment. I told them that I wanted an appointment because I wanted help and I wanted answers and I needed to understand what my options were. And they told me, when women call our office, it's because they've already made up their mind. And so by you calling us, we know that you actually do want an abortion. So I did make the appointment because they also made it very clear that I had a very limited amount of time in which I could have the safe, easy, and effective procedure. Otherwise, I would have to have a surgical abortion, which was much more painful and much more devastating. When I arrived at the clinic with my boyfriend, he slid over $800 under the window. And I put my hand on the money and I said, if I change my mind, can I have a refund? And they told me, you can have a refund for whatever portion of your appointment you do not actually receive. So the moment you go into the office, you'll pay for that. The moment the doctor comes in, you'll pay for her. The moment you have an ultrasound, you'll pay for that. And if at the very end you decide that you don't want to go through with it, I guess we can give you a couple of dollars back. So I went with my boyfriend back into the room, and the doctor entered, and she started a transvaginal ultrasound. For those of you who don't know, it's when they insert a wand into your vagina for an internal image of what's going on in your uterus. The screen was facing away from me. After a few minutes, I asked if I could see my ultrasound. And the doctor said, "Oh, that's not our policy." I insisted and I said, "I need to see my ultrasound, please." So, now becoming a little bit agitated, she turned the screen around so that I could see it. The wand was moving inside my body, but nothing on the screen was moving. I've had 4 living children since then, and I've had many ultrasounds because I've had complications, and when the wand is moving, the picture should be moving. What she showed me was a still shot or a print screen of my own ultrasound. And using that as a weapon, she said to me, "I'm so sorry to tell you, your baby doesn't have a heartbeat, your baby's not viable, you're miscarrying anyway, you're not doing anything wrong by taking this medication." And my boyfriend said, "Oh, thank God," and collapsed over my chest in thanksgiving. I was so terrified because I felt like I had no one in my corner. No one was supporting me. I came to Planned Parenthood for help and support, and instead they began to coerce the chemical abortion pill. But I still couldn't take it. Finally, the doctor, now angry, said, "I have patients behind you, and I need to get back to them, and I'm missing my appointments, so go and wait in my office." So I went to her office and in tears begged my boyfriend to help me leave and cried for over 45 minutes. Finally, she came back and she said, "I have to have you take this pill in front of me. And if you leave, I can't guarantee that I can get you another appointment before the 10-week cutoff, and then you'll have to have the surgical abortion." Now remember, she told me that I was miscarrying. At that point, my baby would have stopped developing. There would be no 10-week cutoff for me. She bold-faced lied to me. Feeling it was the only way that I could leave, I did swallow the first pill, and I went home. They had promised me that I would feel relief. I didn't feel relieved. I felt sad. I felt depressed. I felt like I was walking out of that facility with a part of me missing. The next day, I took the second pill. They told me it would be like a double period with some cramping, nothing that a Tylenol couldn't cure, and I would be back to work within a day or 2. That was also a lie. By myself, locked in a bathroom, I experienced tremors, I experienced sweats, I started to vomit, and when the bleeding started, it was so profuse, there wasn't enough towels or anything else to mop up the blood as it pooled on the floor, around the toilet, and in the tub. When I felt pressure, I felt in between my legs and pulled out a perfectly formed amniotic sac with my baby floating inside it with recognizable eyes, limbs, and earbuds. That was so different from the double period and the extra clotting that they told me that I would experience. And in that moment, I had to decide if I was going to throw my child in the trash or flush my child down the toilet. And I chose to flush him into a septic tank. See, they didn't tell me that there was any complications regarding this pill. They did not tell me that there was a black box warning. They did not tell me that people had sepsis or anything else. There was no follow-up care. And instead of relief, I got horrible nightmares that started where I would see people dying and people being murdered. I would hear infants crying in the trash cans when I walked by them. I would hear infants crying in the toilet. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which I still suffer from this day. This is not safe This is not easy. This is not something that our women need to be experiencing. And until we wake up and we understand exactly what this medication is doing to women, this percentage that's on the black box warning doesn't even include psychological or emotional ramifications. So if you start adding up the psychological and emotional ramifications, the PTSD, the complex PTSD, suicidal ideations, broken relationships, the victims start to expand exponentially. I will never unsee my dead child in my hand. I will never take him to kindergarten. Instead, I will have nightmares. Instead, I will always regret what I did because I wasn't told the truth. Thank you.
Let me introduce to you now Shanice Thomas. Shanice is a nursing student attending school in Maryland. She's originally from Connecticut and has a powerful testimony about her experience with these drugs. Shanice, thank you so much for being with us.
The abortion pill is often described as a simple, safe solution, something routine, quick, and low risk. That was not my reality. That was not my reality. For me, the abortion pill nearly cost me my life, and the consequences will stay with me forever. I went to Planned Parenthood to get an abortion. They gave me 2 pills to take, one with them and one 24 to 48 hours later. The next day, I took the second pill, and I thought everything was normal because I was getting cramps in my menstrual cycle back. But no, everything wasn't normal. I was in severe pain where it was hard for me to turn. 2 days later, I went back to Planned Parenthood, and they told them what was going on, and they told me that everything was fine and sent me back home. That's when I was looking lethargic, pale, and gray. My dad rushed me to St. Vincent Hospital in Bridgeport, Connecticut. After taking the abortion pill, my body began to shut down. What started as something I was told would be manageable quickly turned into a medical emergency. I developed a severe infection behind my uterus that went undetected until it became life-threatening. My condition deteriorated so rapidly that I was rushed into ICU at St. Vincent Hospital, where doctors had to place me on an ECMO machine, a last resort life support system when the heart and lungs are failing. ECMO is not something people usually survive easily from, and the fact that I needed it shows how critical my condition had become. I was so unstable that doctors said if I were placed in a helicopter for transfer, I would likely die. Instead, I was transported by ambulance to Hartford Healthcare Hospital. Fighting for my life every mile of the way, I was medically induced coma for a month. During this time, I required several blood transfusions due to the severe blood loss and complications from my infection. My mom, dad, and family was by my side praying each day I would live. Eventually, the damage was so extensive that doctors had no choice but to perform a partial hysterectomy. In one moment, my ability to carry children in the future was taken from me, not by choice, but by necessity to save my life. I took the abortion pill because I was scared and pressured by my boyfriend to end my child life. In that process, I almost lost my life as well. This is why I'm here to speak out. The abortion pill kills, and it ends life of children in the womb and can have dangerous life-altering consequences for the women who take it. Thank you.
Next, let me introduce to you Rosalie Markozich. Rosalie joins us from Louisiana. She works with kids in a daycare there, a job that she loves, and she's in the process of pursuing litigation to ensure that women do not experience the same pain and deception that she did from this drug. Rosalie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Senator Hawley, for inviting me to speak today and for defending these women against the harms of abortion drugs. In October of 2023, my then boyfriend coerced me to take abortion drugs that he ordered online from a California doctor named Remy Corto. Those drugs took my child's life. I had already loved my baby, and I did not want an abortion. I told my then boyfriend that repeatedly, but that did not stop him from ordering FDA-approved drugs without my consent. It did not stop him from having the drugs mailed directly to my home, even though it is against the law in Louisiana. Nor did it stop him from cornering me in a car and telling me that I'd ruin his life if I kept my baby. And it certainly did not stop him from becoming so angry that I had feared for my life and my child's life. He watched me swallow those drugs, and when I could finally get away, I rushed to the bathroom to try to throw them up. I was unsuccessful. The blood started coming, and I knew I had lost my baby. I spent the rest of that night on a towel in the garage, soaked in blood. The blood did not stop for over a week, but the mental agony has never left. My then boyfriend would not have been able to order these drugs if the FDA hadn't recklessly removed the requirement for an in-person office visit before prescribing them. And if he had tried to force me to go to an abortion clinic to get these drugs, I would have told the doctor, I do not want this. But I was denied of that opportunity. I am still haunted by the trauma, and I will mourn my child that I thought I was going to have. No woman should have to experience what I went through, and yet I'm hearing story after story of women who are placed in unacceptable situations like mine because the FDA failed to protect them. And that's why I'm fighting back. I want to be a voice for those women and their babies, and I want to hold the FDA accountable for this destructive actions against women and their children. Women deserve better, and their stories will be heard. Thank you.
Now let me introduce to you Rebecca Hagan. Rebecca joins us from Louisiana, where she lives with her family. She experienced the abortion drug as a college student in California and now helps work with women to choose life all over the country. Rebecca, thank you for being with us.
Years ago, I found myself unexpectedly pregnant. I was 18, a college freshman, living in my parents' home, and a new single mother of a toddler I'd had the year before. It felt impossible. Hope was lost and fear was loud. And in this moment, I began searching for an abortion. Now, surgical abortion was completely off the table for me. I was 18, I had never had surgery, and I was a wimp. I thought a lot about what could go wrong and the dangers I was exposing myself to. And then I heard about the abortion pill. It was described as simple, as private, as safe, as natural, as less expensive, as easier to hide. I was made to believe, like the others you heard from today, that in 24 hours, everything, my entire crisis, would just go away. I could go back to work or school, and that no one would ever have to know. Mind you, I did this all while my parents and my baby slept. You don't know what you don't know, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. With no counseling, no waiting period, no sensible conversation, I was given a quick explanation at a local abortion provider, told just that this would be a two-step process. I would begin in the facility and finish at home, that I would just end and expel my pregnancy. Those words made what I was doing a whole lot easier. You see, women like me are made to believe that you can just magically become unpregnant, and that's not true. Reminded that I was running out of time, that the window for having a chemical abortion was quickly closing, I swallowed the abortion pill in front of a nurse, signed some paperwork, and was sent on my way with a little brown bag of abortion drugs, ibuprofen, and Norcos to take soon after. The only medical guidance I received, and I still remember her exact words to this day, were, once you start this, Rebecca, there will be no going back. Expect bleeding, expect cramping, take your pain medication, rest, and call us if you pass blood clots larger than the size of a lemon. Everything else was to be expected. That was the safety net. What I didn't understand was that I had just been sent home with instructions to literally send myself into labor. No one talked about the complications, what I might feel, what I might see, and no one talked about my baby. I was kept in the dark. My child was stripped of their dignity. Chemical abortion advocates for no one. Today, the situation is even more alarming. As you just heard, these drugs can now be ordered online by minors, by traffickers, no verification of gestational age, no ultrasound, no one checking their vitals, no options counseling, no medical supervision, desperate women simply instructed to stockpile on abortion pills just in case, and then told to deny and to lie about what they took should they end up in the emergency room. Abortions alone in dorm rooms, in bedrooms, in apartments, homes turned into places of complete trauma. And we're told that this is progress, that this is healthcare. No, this is reckless. The relief that the abortion promise did not come. Instead, after taking that first abortion pill, I got in my car and total regret consumed me. I sobbed in their parking lot with an overwhelming desire to protect my baby and terrified about what might happen to my body. Now, this is where my story differs from those bravely shared a few moments ago. By the grace of God, I changed my mind. I found help accessing abortion pill reversal, then new, but just progesterone used to outcompete mifepristone, the abortion pill, and it worked. My son was born later that year as one of the first babies saved by this regimen. This year, that baby turns 13. Zachariah is healthy, he's thriving, he's smart, he's charismatic, he lights up every single room he walks into. The world is better because he was born. 13 years of miracles and milestones. And it is not lost on me, not for a single day, that our story almost ended differently and that what I did was dangerous. I took a drug powerful enough to end my child's life and completely endanger mine under the guise of, quote, this is as safe as Tylenol. And it's just like a heavy period. And that's what brings me here today. As someone who's been deceived by big abortion, I'm here to say that young people like me, young, scared moms and dads, deserve the truth. And the truth is this: the abortion pill is not simple, and the abortion pill is not safe. I said earlier that it's one thing to say you don't know what you don't know. But I want to end by saying it's another to say I knew and I chose to do nothing. The time for Congress to act, to protect women, to protect children from the dangers of the abortion pill is now. Thank you.
Finally, let me introduce to you Mayra Rodriguez. Mayra is a former Planned Parenthood Center director from Phoenix, Arizona. She saw firsthand how the abortion industry's tactics deceived and harmed women, and she faced retaliation for speaking out. We're so grateful that she's here with us today. Would you join me in welcoming Mayra?
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to the brave women that are in the room and spoke before me today. It is because of them that I am speaking. It is because I always have cared about women that I am speaking. And it is because of the pain inflicted in them and the experience that people that sold them lies like me that I am speaking. I apologize on behalf of all the abortion workers that have lied to you and to many women. My story is very different from these women. I never had an abortion. It was never in the books for me, but it was really easy for me to sell the idea to other women. I was trained, and I train others. And I worked for Planned Parenthood for 17 years, telling women the lie that you just heard today. I had that memorized in my head. It will be like Tylenol. You will breathe for 2 days. When you see that big blood clot, just flush it down the toilet and don't look. It was really easy until I became the director of the biggest facility in Arizona. Then things changed. That's the moment where I started seeing the babies pile up in plastic bags to be thrown with trash. That's when I started seeing the women crunching in pain in the recovery rooms. But also, when I got the phone calls in the middle of the night of the women saying, is this normal? There's a pool of blood. I don't feel well. I think I'm dying. And I'm instructed to tell them, put a heating pad, put your feet up, take an ibuprofen, call me back in the number. You will be fine. We didn't know that she will be fine, but we're instructed to tell them, you will be fine. When you tell women, flush that big blood clot in the toilet, and then you get the phone calls in the middle of the night that said, you told me the big blood clot, but it has hands and feet, and I think it's even moving. Do you still want me to throw it and flush it in the toilet? Yes, please, and don't look. That changes everything. I dare anyone pro-abortion to face women in their face and tell them it's still okay. When you're telling them to flush down their baby and inflicting that trauma, when women come back weeks after weeks still bleeding, anemic, with complications caused by a pill that started with so many restrictions. In the 2001, it was up to 6 weeks, and it little by little started going without any more restrictions to the point that anyone can get him anytime. A 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, anyone can buy the abortion pill online, no questions asked. This has to stop. I started working for Planned Parenthood because I truly care about women. When I became the director, I understood what it meant, and it meant abortion no matter what. When I open my eyes, when I complain about the wrongdoings, when I complain about the complications going reported, the falsifying of patient charts, my employer did not care about the women that I was trying to protect. What they cared was about protecting the abortionists doing the wrongdoings. They fired me. I won a wrongful termination lawsuit, but I knew that wasn't it. I knew my testimony has to be used to help politicians that are brave enough to stand up and say, I will still protect life, even when the rest of them are saying, no, stay quiet. We cannot allow this to happen. We have to keep pushing our politicians. We have to push Congress, who is here to protect. I take it personally because today, the Latino population is the one accounted for the majority of abortions compared to the data of the people that exist. As a Latina, that's not what my community needs. Abortion, it's not something that should be on our streets. Abortion should not be in our mailboxes. And we demand that that pill should be removed. Thank you.
I want to introduce to you now someone who I'm very personally proud of. I think she's the foremost advocate for life in courtrooms in the United States today. She's argued twice at the United States Supreme Court defending life just in the last year and a half. I happen also to be married to her. And I can tell you I've never won an argument at home. Would you join me in welcoming my wife, Erin Hawley?
Thank you so much. The pro-abortion left tells us that abortion is empowering. You've just heard from these women that it is anything but. I can't imagine the bravery and strength it must have taken to tell your story today. But I can tell you that you are encapsulating what the Bible says. You are shedding light in darkness. God is a God who redeems. And he is one that turns what others meant for evil for good. I'm humbled and proud to stand with these women and these other pro-life leaders and speak truth, that they speak truth to a culture who too often says that life just isn't worth the living, to a culture that discounts the value of each and every child, to a culture who tells women it's easier to just take a drug and pretend it never happened than to come alongside her to support women. I'm so grateful for all of the faith leaders, for the pro-life leaders that will change our country, will change our culture, will change our congregations, where women have the support that they need. We also heard today about how the Biden administration made things infinitely worse. Drugs can now be mailed to dorm rooms or homes without ever talking to, much less seeing a doctor. That's what happened to our client Rosalie, whose boyfriend ordered those drugs. It's unconscionable. Make no mistake, Abortion drugs are not about women's health. They are reckless. They are a black box drug that sends at least 1 in 25 women to the hospital. And when the Biden administration stripped away that last remaining safeguard, they did so in the face of studies that acknowledged that more women would be sent to the emergency room, that more women would be hospitalized, and they did it anyway. Finally, I just have to say, as all of you know, it's not always easy to live out your convictions. And I'm so proud of my husband. He's someone who lives out his convictions every day. He loves not only myself and our children, Abigail and Blaze and Elijah, well, but he's doing his part to ensure that families can flourish, that women can flourish. So thank you.
I way outkicked my coverage, men, there you can see, in marrying Aaron. Let me introduce to you now a dear, dear friend of mine, Marjorie Dannenfelser, who is the head of Susan B. Anthony List, a group that has done so much for so many years, advocating for women, advocating for the unborn. Marjorie, it's so tremendous to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Hawley family, for introducing this bill. I know it's a family project. Also, I want to thank Congresswoman Harshbarger on the House side, who is introducing the companion bill. And of course, we're for it. Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, represents millions of voters all over the country, and we'll spend $80 million in this midterm to reflect those values in battlegrounds all over the country. From all of those people, I want to ask a question directly to Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Does Elizabeth matter to you? Does her life matter to you? Does Shanice's life matter to you? How about Rosalie? Does she matter? How about Rebecca and Myra? Do they matter? Does it matter that they get the health care that they deserve? Or is it better that it be between a mailman and them is where they get their health care, meaning nowhere? It is an outrage that these women standing here and all across the country, and men who love women, have been co-opted into what is termed a feminist movement that has absolutely abandoned women. Instead, they are absolutely attached to the institution of abortion over the lives of women. And it is time to be heard. It is time for these women's stories, their real lives, to be heard and made manifest in legislation that would stop the madness. We searched and worked for 50 years to have the handcuffs taken off of the people so that we could pass laws to save lives. 20 states acted courageously to fight for justice and love for children and justice and love for their mothers. And then what happened? The pills, unattached to any care, flooded into all those states and everywhere. So Gavin Newsom is determining policy in pro-life states. I think we all know what that means. No justice for women, no justice for babies. So where do we go from here? Well, we had looked to the administration to at least rein in terms of rules surrounding the distribution of this drug that has led to a spike in abortion since Dobbs. We are waiting. We are waiting, we are waiting, and I think we got to the point where we decided this is a dead end. I hope I'm wrong, because the voters care. They certainly do. And so does every woman that is represented here and is across the country who deserves much better than what they're being delivered. No justice for babies, no justice for women. It's time to make a change. Thank you.
Now let me introduce to you a dear friend of mine, someone who's been on the front lines of the fight for life all over this country, in churches, and everywhere, in beaches, right, Sean, out in the open square, leading the Let Us Worship movement, fighting for the right to worship, fighting for the right of the church to be heard, and fighting for the innocent unborn. Would you join me in welcoming Sean Foy?
What an honor to be here. First, I just want to say the courage and the bravery in this room and these women. Can we just give it up one more time for them? We're so honored to amplify these stories. I just also so grateful for the leadership of Senator Hawley when so many weak and cowardly politicians refuse to take this issue. He goes at it head on. That's my guy right there. And so we're grateful for him and his leadership. I just wanted to share quickly, ever since I was a teenager, I had this thing in my heart, to want to see the overturning of Roe in America and the death decree of abortion reversed. And I went to all the rallies. I would worship. I would pray. We would fast. We would put the life tape on. We would, go to the Supreme Court, and things just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I came to the point where I'm like, and everybody kept telling me, it's impossible. It can't happen. We don't have the Supreme Court justices. We don't have the right president. We don't have this. We don't have that. And the Lord just began to speak to me one day about his faithfulness. Do we remember his faithfulness? And so I got back on the pro-life horse, and I was like, all right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep worshiping. But God, we stand here today with the 50-year death decree reversed. And so we are coming into this room with such a testimony of what God's done. And if he did it before, he can do it again. And so I want to honor their bravery. I feel like today is a moment of moral clarity for people in America. You've heard the stories. You've heard the tragedy. We know that this death pill, it is a death pill. It is a poison pill that is going to mailboxes across America. And we need the courage to rise up and say, enough is enough. And so I'm standing here as a father of four, but I'm standing here also as a spiritual leader in this nation and calling other spiritual leaders to rise up and use their voice. And I want to read this verse, Proverbs 24:11. It says, rescue those being led away to death, hold back those staggering towards slaughter. And that's our call, and that's our mandate. And I want to do everything that's in my power and my sphere of authority, and my call would be to those out there, you do the same. And as we raise a battle cry, I believe that God can do it. I believe that this is a winning issue. Look at these women. They are worth fighting for. The women in our nation are worth fighting for. And to the other political leaders and the members of Congress, you can choose to be complacent or you can choose to have courage, but you cannot choose both. Amen.
Amen.
Our next speaker is such an incredible and powerful advocate for life. She leads the law firm Alliance Defending Freedom as their president and general counsel. I think Alliance Defending Freedom must do more than any other law firm in America combined times 10 for the cause of life, for the cause of women's health and safety. Kristen Wagner is currently leading litigation in multiple states involving multiple women, fighting for life and fighting for women's health and safety. It's an honor to have her here. Would you welcome Kristen Wagner?
Thank you, Senator Hawley. It's such a joy to be here, and I want to begin by thanking these 5 courageous women. It is hard to tell your story, especially when it's a heartbreaking story, and when you're telling it to the world in the halls of Congress. But I have to tell you that we can't do our work if other people don't rise up and tell their stories, if government officials don't stand with courage, if activists don't stand, if leaders of the church don't stand. And so I am so grateful for you, because it is the human story about what is happening in dorm rooms and locker rooms and in bedrooms that will win the day on these issues. So thank you very much. I am Kristen Wagner. I have the privilege of being able to lead Alliance Defending Freedom, and we are the world's largest legal organization that protects life. And along with Aaron Hawley on our team, we were privileged to be able to serve on Mississippi's team as it was able to argue for the overturn of Roe versus Wade. Today, ADF stands with Senator Hawley in the next step, along with these brave young women, to stand for the end of abortion, chemical abortion, and to say that enough is enough. For too long, we have seen chemical abortion ravage the lives of women and end the lives of their unborn children. I want to talk for a minute about the legal background and how we got here, because I think it's important for you to know that it wasn't just a Republican administration or a Republican member of Congress that recognized the dangers of these drugs. In fact, in 2000, the Clinton administration and its FDA was the first administration to approve the chemical abortion drug in our nation's history. And while it shouldn't have done so, it did recognize at that moment the risks that occur. In fact, the FDA actually has a black label warning on the drugs themselves that actually, with the approval, was conditioned on the use of, if these drugs were used, that there would be safety standards, including not just one, but multiple doctor's visits and follow-ups, so that women could, before they take the drug, be examined and follow-up could occur to avoid the trauma and the injuries that Senator Hawley talked about at the beginning of today. Then in 2016, we also saw the Obama administration remove these critical safeguards. And as it did so, it removed the doctor and the follow-up visits, even though the FDA's own label warns that roughly 1 in 25 women today will make a trip to the emergency room because they took this drug. And that gets us to 2023, which is the Biden administration. The Biden administration permanently eliminated the initial in-person office visit, recklessly leaving women to take these drugs in their bedrooms, in their dorm rooms, wherever they were, without the counsel of a doctor. You heard what that means to these women today, the trauma that can be induced, but also the harm physically. And at that same time, that meant the FDA has permitted and approved the use of these drugs to be mailed across this nation, not only with no in-person visit, but to have abusive men, human traffickers, and others order these drugs and insist that women take them. And the human cost is real. How can we doubt that after hearing these stories? As we are litigating, as one example in Louisiana today, I want to tell you what's happening there. The FDA-approved abortion drugs send roughly 40 women to the emergency room a month. And it ends the lives of nearly 1,000 babies. So let's add that up over the course of a year. In one state alone, nearly 500 women and 12,000 children are affected. What happened to our client, Rosa Lee, should never happen to any women. It's entirely preventable, and we're honored to represent her, to stand for her, as well as the state of Louisiana. We are going to hold the FDA accountable because this is a defining moment for our nation. It's one that requires the conviction and the courage and the clarity that you've seen here by all of these speakers. We must hold the FDA accountable and require it to do its job. And the death of Rosa Lee's child and the abuse that she endured was entirely preventable. We are so thankful to the Attorney General, Liz Muriel, for her stand in this litigation, but we are especially grateful to Senator Josh Hawley for introducing this legislation. And we believe no matter how long it takes, we will work to get it passed. Thank you.
Now let me introduce Penny Nance of Concerned Women for America. Concerned Women for America has done more in the fight for life, not just in the last couple of years, but over decades to see Roe v. be overturned. Your powerful voice for women is second to none in this country. Penny, we're so honored you'd be here. Thank you. The podium is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to start by saying thank you, Senator Hawley, for being willing to wade into the trauma that is in this room. You have seen almost 2 women almost faint, and if you were here, you're maybe watching at home, but if you were here, what you would feel in this room is tragedy and such deep remorse and sadness. I've been at this for a long time, and I don't know if I've ever experienced just what I'm feeling in this room. So I just want to say to the victims, thank you for being willing to tell your story. You're speaking on behalf of millions of young women who don't know where to go to tell their story. They don't have a platform. They don't have anyone listening, and they sure as heck don't have Planned Parenthood at their back. We have got to change the situation. Thank you for being here today. We are seeing 1 million babies a year die still after all the walks for life. After all the years that our Concerned Women for America members have walked the halls of Congress and their state legislatures and talked to their member of Congress and testified at their church and tried to protect life, what does the left do? They do an end run around the work of what the voters decided. The voters decided what they wanted the law to be, but yet they've done an end run and the FDA is not helping. Well, here we stand today. And we have got to do something to help these women. We have at Concerned Women for America about 500,000 members around this country. Our then President Wendy Wright testified before the FDA initially and told them what was going to happen. They never even tested it on young girls who were, like 13, 14-year-olds who were taking the drug. So we don't even know what it does to developing bodies. But sadly, we're going to find out. As we've had less and less oversight, you have women taking the drug way past when they should be taking it and suffering alone in their dorm rooms, as we are told by our Young Women for America members. The trauma that is happening around this country on college campuses are just like what we're feeling in this room. And today we're calling for it to end. So we stand with you, Senator Hawley. We stand firm for life, and we stand for women and for mothers. And we offer them not just our love and our encouragement, but the healing balm of Gilead. There is love, and there is redemption, and there's goodness, and there's healing. And we stand with you. We stand with all of you and offer that today, along with taking a stand firm and asking Congress to act. Thank you.
Our last speaker of this afternoon is Dr. Christine Francis. Dr. Christine Francis is with the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs. We are so glad for her work, for your professional work for women all across this country. I can't imagine the number of babies you've delivered and also saved. It's literally your job. What an amazing thing that you do, and thank you for being here today to speak to truth and to lend your voice to this cause. Thank you, Dr. Francis. Come on up.
Thank you so much, Senator Hawley. As Senator Hawley stated, I'm a board-certified OBGYN. I've been in practice for approximately 20 years and also have the privilege of leading APLOG, the largest professional medical organization in the world for life-affirming medical professionals. I'm here today on behalf of our thousands of members, but also our patients, because mifepristone, as we've heard throughout the day today, is a high-risk drug that ends the life of one of my patients through starvation and asphyxiation, and oftentimes significantly harms my other patient. I work as an OB hospitalist now, which means I'm just in the hospital taking care of patients, and I work in the state of Indiana, where abortion is largely illegal, and yet I and my colleagues regularly are called down to the emergency room to care for women, such as the brave women that we've heard from today, that are suffering severe complications. I'll tell you who isn't taking care of them in the emergency room: the profit-driven pill pushers that sent them those pills, either online, through the mail, or even in an abortion facility. They are not taking care of them. We are, the members of APLOG and other life-affirming physicians, are there to care for women who are suffering really horrific complications. We've heard about them today: severe bleeding, severe infections that require multiple IV antibiotics, and even emergency surgery. In fact, in the state of Indiana, again, where abortion is largely illegal, just last year alone, dozens of complications due to mifepristone were reported. And in fact, a review of real-world data through insurance claims data shows exactly what we're seeing in our emergency room, that nearly 1 in 9 women who take these drugs will have a severe complication. And a recent further analysis of that same data showed that once the in-person dispensing requirement was removed, those complications increased by 35%. You know, we believe that our patients deserve accurate information, no matter the choice that they make, whether they choose life for their child or whether they choose to go ahead with abortion. They deserve to have real and accurate information. They deserve to have medical oversight and ongoing health care, which is not happening right now. Women are lied to, not only by the abortion industry, but also by their allies in the medical profession, as well as the FDA. The FDA knew this drug was dangerous when they rushed it through the approval process. And what Senator Hawley is asking for, the removal of the approval of this drug for induced abortion, is not a novel concept. Some of you might remember a drug called Vioxx, which is an anti-inflammatory drug. Vioxx was removed from the market for a 0.004% severe complication rate. As we already heard, the FDA acknowledges a low complication rate, but they acknowledge a 0.5% severe complication rate. And so it is time that this drug be removed from the market. Medical malpractice and malfeasance is being peddled as health care, but the unregulated pushing of these abortion pills is anything but. The purpose of medicine is health, healing, and wholeness. And dangerous abortion drugs are the exact opposite of this. So it's time for the FDA to do its job and protect American women and children from the harms of mifepristone. And it's time for Congress to have courage and to stand up for the women that are here, for my patients that are in Indiana, and for all of our patients that are across this country. Applog Action is proud to stand with you, Senator Hawley, and all our patients who have been harmed by mifepristone, and it's why we endorse this important legislation and will stand with you to fight for this. Thank you.
I'm going to invite to close our press conference, and then we are happy to take your questions, press, no fear. But to close this portion of the press conference, let me invite Pastor Jack Graham to come up. Pastor, thank you for your leadership over the years. Thank you for your spiritual leadership for the nation. Would you just close us in a word of prayer?
When Roe v. Wade went down, it was like the giant going down when David ran to the battle. Thank you, Senator, for running to the battle. We know the battle is the Lord's. And the giant went down with a shot to the head, but David cut his head off with his own sword. So the way I view it is that Dobbs took the giant down, the end of Dobbs. But this will take the giant's head off. And we need to finish the battle. We need to finish the good work that God has called us to do. So let's pray. Lord, you are the author of life and the giver of life. Every breath that we have, we know, comes from you, that every life matters, that every life is sacred. We believe this. And because we believe this so strongly, we believe that you are Lord, Lord of all, Lord of life, that you are the resurrection and the life. And even at this Easter season, once again, we are reminded of the hope that we have in you. And my prayer for the women in this room and women all across this country would be given hope, because we know that only in you do we find ultimate hope. But you have called us to this battle. You have called us to stand up and speak out and never stop speaking until the victory is won. So we pray for the senator and his colleagues that they will see truth. And as we put a light on this deep darkness, we know you see the tears. You still hear the silent screams. You still know every heartbreak and every heartache and every pain. You are here, Lord, in this place, and your presence is real. So revive our hearts, revive your church. Let spiritual leaders and pastors be courageous. Let legislators be courageous. Let the people in the pews, the congregation across this nation, with clarity and conviction and compassion, Lord. And we pray that there will be a day in this country, and maybe even around the world, that not only will abortion be illegal, but that it would be unthinkable. And we pray for that day. Bless us with your strength, with your help, because we are helpless without you. But in you, we can do all things. And we are more than conquerors through Jesus our Lord, in whose name we pray. Amen.
With that, media, we're happy to take your questions. Yeah, Alex, go ahead.
Just to clarify, you're seeking a total ban on mifepristone, even by doctor's prescription. And what's your strategy for getting this done? Will you try to get Democratic votes to overcome a filibuster, or do you think this is something that should be eligible for talking filibuster to enhance the chances of passage?
Alex, two things. First of all, what the bill would do is it would bar the use of mifepristone for abortion. The FDA has actually approved mifepristone for use in other treatments, Cushing's disease to be exact. The bill doesn't touch that. But for abortion, for its use in abortion, it would withdraw FDA approval for that use, number one. Number two, it would give the victims who we've heard from today the right to get into court and to hold accountable the drug makers who have systematically lied to them. We've talked about the fact that the label says 0.5% serious adverse complications are possible. In fact, we all know, and the drug makers absolutely know, including Danco and the Cayman Islands, they know very well, because they track the data, that the real adverse health event, the real risk is much, much higher, 22 times higher. So it's vital that we give these women the ability to go to court and to be made whole for the harms that they've suffered. And you've heard just the merest piece of it today. So my view is I'm going to work with my colleagues. My hope is to get 60 votes. I know it will take persuading people, moving hearts and minds, but that's what we're here to do. That's the mission that we are embarking upon. We do have a House companion, which I'm excited about. And I just want to emphasize, Alex, this is something for Congress to do. Congress needs to act. There's no excuse for Congress to offload its responsibilities onto other people. Only Congress at this stage can withdraw the certification for abortion from mifepristone in an effective way. Only Congress can do it and make it permanent. So this is a job for Congress to do. And I think rather than being a spectator, Congress should act. And I'm going to make that case to my colleagues. Yeah, Burgess. You know, Burgess, I've talked to the president about life a bunch of times, and I want to start by saying he deserves all the credit in the world. We've talked about Dobbs today. The Dobbs opinion is because of him. It's because he put pro-life justices on the bench who overturned Roe versus Wade. That wouldn't have happened without Donald Trump. Just last year, he signed legislation that defunded for an entire year Planned Parenthood. He deserves total credit for that. But I just want to say, at the end of the day, this really isn't about the president or the administration. It's about Congress. Certainly, we want the FDA to do whatever it can, but only Congress can act in a way, Burgess, that's permanent. As we've talked about today, safety rules on this drug have been imposed and then rolled back and then rolled back further. This is why Congress needs to act. My view is that, you know, who knows what a future left-wing FDA will do. Actually, I think I know exactly what they'll do. It's what they have done for the last 20 years. They'll remove all restrictions. The drug is basically unregulated now, and we just can't allow that to continue, and I believe the solution to that is to get 60 votes in the Senate, is to pass it through the House, and is to take this drug for abortions off of the market. The other thing I'd say about this, Burgess, is it's important to understand that the Dobbs opinion is basically a dead letter so long as these abortion drugs can be mailed into every state. It doesn't matter what the voters in my state legislate. It doesn't matter. Because these drugs are available. You don't even have to get an actual doctor's prescription. How did the men who've been charged criminally with drugging their girlfriends or lovers, how do they get the drug? Oh, online, by lying. You know, there was nobody there to stop them. So it's not going to matter what voters anywhere do unless we put power back into their hands, unless we give women the right to have their day in court, and unless we withdraw the certification, the approval for abortion for this drug. Yes, yes, go ahead. Well, listen, I mean, let's get 60 votes first. I mean, that's a tall order. We've got our work cut out for us, and that's what we're here to start. I mean, things don't pass in America. We're democracy, so things don't pass, especially through the Senate, where you need 60 to do anything meaningfully. They don't pass unless the American people are for it. And so this is why we are bringing the stories, the incredible stories of these incredible women to the American public today so that they can see that what this drug does is it destroys lives, it destroys women's health, and they're being lied to. And the public is being lied to by these big pharma companies who are profiting billions of dollars a year. We don't even know how much because they're off in the Caymans. They won't reveal any of their actual information. I just call on Danco while I'm at it. I would call on Danco today. Publish all of your material. Tell us who's on your board of directors. Tell us who your investors are. We know George Soros was an early investor. Who are your other investors? We know that population control advocates were early investors. That's because of what we've been able to piece together from court findings and other public records. Let us know. What are you afraid of? Why are you hiding in the Cayman Islands? It's because their drug is inherently dangerous, and they know it, but it is so profitable. No amount of profit justifies what's happened to these women. So we're going to have to make that case to the American people. I'm going to make it to my colleagues. And I would just reiterate, this is something for Congress to do. You know, Congress has gotten into a very bad habit of giving other people advice and never doing anything. You know, you should do that, and you should do that, Mr. President, you ought to do that, and the court should do that. Well, maybe Congress should do something called legislating. This is what we should be about now, and I would call on all of my colleagues who are pro-life, every one of them, join us. This is where the fight to protect women's health and safety and to protect life is. This is it. This is the fight. I call on them to join me now. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just a year and a half ago, Missouri will have the opportunity to think again about that this fall. We have another ballot initiative, and I would just say, listen, I'm going to be out there making the case that we need to protect life in the state of Missouri. We currently have abortion on demand. That same law that you referenced that passed in 2024 also legalizes transgender procedures for minors in my state. It's a terrible law. We have to fix it, and we're going to have the chance to do that this fall. But here's the key thing. It won't matter what Missouri voters pass this fall. It won't matter what any voter from any state that any of you are from adopts this fall or in any election from now until forever, unless Congress does something about the chemical abortion drug. So long as this drug can be mailed into every state of the union with no safeguards to speak of, it's not going to matter. Currently, mifepristone accounts for 70% of abortion in this country. That number is on the rise. There were over 1 million abortions last year. It's gone up every single year. This is exactly what the special interest pro-abortion industry wanted. That's why, along with these corporations, they pushed first the Obama administration, then the Biden administration to remove all the protocols, all the safeguards. They knew this would happen. They want it. The fact that women's lives are destroyed, they don't care about that. They care about abortion politics, and they care about money. And it's time to do something about that. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, I think the question is about doctors. So what the bill would do is it would remove the FDA approval for mifepristone for abortion, which means that a doctor would not be able to prescribe it in accordance with the law, and all of the laws that are on the books currently that regulate what happens when a drug is misprescribed in that way would apply. But I think one of the most important things the bill does is that it does give rights to victims. It gives rights to the women who are here behind me who currently don't have any recourse. You know, what they've described today, they can't go anywhere to get recourse for that. They can come to the court of public opinion, thank the Lord, and they can make their case. But to be made whole, how do you even make them whole after what they have suffered? Well, this bill would at least do something. It would be a step in the right direction. It would give them the ability to get into court against Danco and these foreign corporations making these drugs, which aren't even manufactured in America, can I just add. It would give them the right to get into court and to hold them accountable and get redress. I just think that is the least we can do. Thank you all for being here. I want to say thank you again to the incredible survivors. Thanks to all of our advocates. And we look forward to the fight ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you.